Okay, now that I know that fits, the next step is just to put in about 1,000,000 screws. All the things that, like this, I said I'd screw down when I got it flipped over. It's time to screw them down. I got to find, like, there's my holes. I'll draw the lines, mark along the edge here, and start lobbing screws. Okay, so I got the motor mounted underneath. It's about the middle of its tension or adjustment range. I just got this shoved on, sitting here. You can square it up. 3 inches. That's looking pretty good. Mark the holes. And I can also mark kind of where I want the hole for the dust collection to be. That's going to be, I want it like right here because the chips are going to go that way, so here, somewhere in this range. So I can move this out of the way, drill the holes, cut the hole for the dust collection. Okay, having done that, I just realized I need to have a gate for that opening. So if I cut a piece of my scrap about like that cardboard, and it's not too bad. Slide it over there, and then it's open. And when I'm not using it, close it like that. And make some fine adjustments. Okay, need to find a piece of scrap this will fit on. Okay, so open, closed. Hopefully this will fit over that and it won't interfere. And just open that up, and that hole is open there, and it's right underneath here where the dust is going to be, or chips. And I close that right flush, and that's closed for so I can use other things on the table. Like I said, this is awful high, but there's not much I can do about it unless I tried to notch this to drop it down and squeeze it in, and that's more trouble than it's worth. So here's my dilemma and the problem with YouTube. See, the problem with YouTube is that somebody someday is going to watch this video and have an absolutely brilliant solution, it'll be too late because I'll have moved on. I could even be dead by then, right? Here's the dust port for the bandsaw. You know, if not a big deal to go down through there and go into the plumbing underneath, right? Except it's connected to the door, so I have to be able to open and close this every time I change a blade or something like that. So my thinking, if I had something with a 45 and I cut it in half so it was just cupping this like this, it wouldn't be a tight fit, but it'd be tight enough, and then I could do this and then go down. That's all I can come up with. And I'll have to get parts to do that, and that's 2.5 inches on the outside. Oh, so we're probably talking a 3-inch pipe, and that'll be a loose fit, and it'll also give me a space I can take a piece of something and stick it in here to shut it off, I guess. To think about that too. Yeah, that'll work. So I guess that's what I'll do. It'll be, you know, a leak. There'll be a little gap around here and a gap in here where the thing goes. But that's not. It's only 2.5 inches instead of the 4-inch that the regular blower runs. So that much leakage shouldn't affect the flow here. Of course, it doesn't pick up the dust that comes down and gets here where you can't see with the camera on the back. But that's not so much. If I get a good dust flow coming here, I should get most of it. And what I don't get, I guess I can just go in there with a shop vac every once in a while and clean up. So, well, you'll see it when I get it done. But in the meantime, if you have a better idea and you tell me, you know, make a comment down below and tell me what I should have done. That's got to be helpful, right? Thanks. Okay, so on this side I've got some 2-inch PCV. This elbow wasn't quite big enough to fit over the 2.5-inch thing here, so I got a rubber pipe, a rubber pipe coupler, and that lets me open this up, close it. A little piece of plexiglass fits in there to shut that off. Slides in and out. This gives me a reasonable closure. Pipe goes through the tabletop and then just goes into the plenum with some caulk there. I did caulk over here. I don't know how well that shows up in this light. But he was doing a lot of whistling if I closed everything, and now it's quiet, so I think I've cut the airflow there quite a bit. Okay, so at this point, I got everything at least sitting where it needs to go. You know, this needs to come up so it's level with this. I'll put some drawers or something here that will end up level with this when it comes up, some things like that. But for the most part, that's, I think, where I'm going to put things. I think the air compressor was the pound number 6 in a 5-pound bag, because this whole thing is just going to end up too high. I'm going to finish it up as it is and live with it for a while, but I think someday I'm going to have to cut it down, probably, you know, about that much to get these down, get those down. Probably in an ideal world, I would have put the jointer on this end, and then the fixed side of the jointer could have been set to the same level as this to be a table extension. I can't, and then I could have put the, yeah, it probably would have worked better. Put the grinder on the other side. But it is what it is, and I don't think I want to go to all that change. I have to move all the ducting underneath and everything else too. So just, you know, for the next guy, I guess. A little better planning. Yeah, well, it's not all bad. So anyhow, I'll make a stand for this to get it up to this level. This needs to get rebuilt. It's pretty sad shape. It's just an old motor out of a furnace that had actually failed in the furnace. It's a 3rd horsepower. I had it seized up, wouldn't run the furnace anymore, but I took it and worked some oil into the bearings and got it to spin, and now it works again. The disc is off of a defunct Shopsmith. It's a 12-inch disc, and I made a bushing to go between the disc and the shaft of the motor because they're different sizes. But I've been using this for quite a while actually, and it seems to be working fine. So I wouldn't want this motor in my furnace because life is limited, I'm sure. But for the intermittent use it sees here, it's fine. And if it ever breaks again, well, it breaks, and I'll just come up with another motor somehow. So I'm going to have to build this, and I want to put a port underneath it here for the dust collection, and I'll put the hole in the table. And when I slide this back out of the way, and so it just serves as an extension table for the saw, the hole will be covered. I can slide it forward here to use it, get it in the disc in front of this space here, then the hole will be exposed and it'll suck the disc, and I'll put a dust collection on this. I have to put some kind of deflector behind it. I'll figure that out once I get it up a little bit higher. So we're making progress. The next step is to figure out how much I want to raise this and figure out what I want to put behind it and cut the hole for the dust collection. So this is the stand for the compound miter saw. This area here is boxed off, and there's a hole that's in about the right spot to collect, some of the dust from underneath the saw and some of the dust that shoots out the back. I got a hole in the table. This is upside down. So if I flip it over, it'll sit somewhere thereabouts, and I should be able to reach behind the saw and close that off when I don't need it. I'll put some taller pieces on the back to give me, to catch the stuff shooting out the top thing. I was just looking at that. I might do a 3D print. Right now it's got a elbow that goes 90 degrees and shoots back, but if I could 3D print an elbow that shoots down, that might actually cut down on dust even more. So, feel a little optimistic, I guess. So I got the dust collection on. This shuts that port off, and I can open it up. So it should pull from underneath here and catch this. I'm just going to try it out, see what happens before I go any further. So I got a little bit of sawdust here and there spilled out. I got a pile back here, but it's no big deal as long as it's contained there. Eventually it'll flow into here. Looking underneath, it looks pretty clear. Well, no, that won't work. I can't change that hole. I need to be able to close it off, so that's okay. I think that's pretty good. I don't have stuff going over the top particularly. Compound miter saw, there's always a little bit of sawdust getting loose. I'd say it's reasonably successful there. There it is. Got some rails on each side. Nothing fancy, but I can slide it back till it hits the bandsaw, pull it forward till it hits those stops, and when I do that, when it's forward, of course I'm right there on the dust port. Push it back, push it forward, so I can turn the dust on and off. And so I got a few odds and ends, put covers on outlets and things like that. And I got to get a sanding disc. I don't know what happened. I had a couple. There must be at the airport or something still. Okay, so much for being patient and waiting for a disc. I just got a bunch of sawdust here. I'm going to turn it on and we'll slide the sawdust up there and we'll see where it goes. I'm feeling a little breeze here away, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'd say that's pretty good. It's pretty much disappearing down the hole. I can hear it tick, tick, ticking in the dust collector over there. Okay, I've been working a bit off camera, but what I've done is I've got this 12 gauge extension cord here, the tan stuff, you know, air conditioner extension cord. It comes in underneath, I'll go this way, into this box. Have I got it in the picture or not? There it is. It's into that box. That box has wires that go elsewhere on the table. That's right here on the front where it's going to be convenient to plug in the air compressor when I need it. And since that's a 12 gauge cord, I don't feel bad about using an extension cord. Up here I've got 3 sets of duplex outlets. And those will plug in the miter saw, drill press, bandsaw, etc. They're mounted on this board here. Next thing I'm going to do is put a shelf here, and I can put my bench grinder on top of that shelf. Let's go around the other side. Bandsaw is bolted down. I need to put a screw in that hole, lag screw, so it kind of hits that support underneath, no big deal. But this is hooked up, probably, well, I ran it last night a little bit, but there it runs. It's been quite a few years since that thing's been used in anger, so it's nice to have that back again. Got the dust collection switch for underneath it. That should work just fine. Well, since static is always an issue with dust collection, what I've done is I've run that copper wire basically through the plenum system. It runs all the way up to the bandsaw, it runs over to the jointer, and on the far end it goes to the ground on the electrical system, so that copper wire is grounded to ground. And then my dust collector is grounded, of course, 3-prong plug, and I got good grounds everywhere in this building. And then the hose for the dust collector has the metal winding in it, which is folded under, so it's contacting the metal flange on the dust collector itself at the inlet. So I've pretty much got, you know, a continuous connection throughout the system with wires to ground, so you don't build up static. Just a couple weeks ago in the lab across the hall from mine, they were building some jigs out of fiberboard using the Fidel CNC, and you know, a lot of really fine dust from the fiberboard being milled, and cleaning it up with a shop vac, and after a while all smoke started coming out of the shop vac. The static electricity had actually set the stuff inside the shop vac on fire. Burned a hole through the filter and stuff by the time they were done, but no big emergency, but it's just something to be aware of when you're doing dust collection. All that moving dust, especially if you got plastic involved. This is wood, but it'll create static and make sparks and can ignite itself. So anyhow, yeah, that copper wire just kind of wanders around loosely. You know, I just bought 15 feet and ended up shoving it all in there. I didn't see any point in cutting any off. If the more length you have in there, the more chances that particles will hit the wire and discharge any static. So that's that. Okay, no brains, no headaches, eh? Oh, that's so obvious. How could I wanted this to be at this level, not this level. And it's a little bit of an extension. And I got this hook on, this overhang back here, so I can make a metal piece that'll hook around that, lay across, and screw onto another piece that'll come out this way as an extension. I used to have that, and I worked great. About a 3-foot chunk, you know, extend the table and just hook on there, and worked fine. But oh well, stupid is as stupid does. Take this apart and change that. Okay, there's the grinder mounted. You could question the wisdom of mounting a grinder on a woodworking bench because all the sawdust back there and sparks flying and the potential for fire, but well, you just got to get back there and with a shop vac and clean it up before you really do any heavy grinding. And I think that's good enough. Okay, a little wrap up, kind of walk through some of the changes I made. There's still more to go. I want to put a shelf under here and stuff, but I've been using it a bit and it's mostly working. I made some last minute changes and I'll walk you through all that. First change was to fix a mistake I made here. I had two of these 3-inch couplings when I started out, and what I didn't realize is when I had this 4-inch coupling laying around when I just started building. And when I cut the hole for the port on this side, I happened to use this coupling. I just grabbed it, didn't realize I had it. I made the hole the wrong size to fit that, but I just had a piece of scrap I could put on top of it. So that's a 3-inch PVC coupling, and it's just about a perfect fit for the 4-inch hose. And I'll show you how it connects over to my table saw as well. This goes on like that, and that's all it takes to go back and forth. And as long as I'm over here, 4-inch coupling, 4-inch PCV, an elbow, toilet flange, and a couple pieces of plywood screwed together by the screws in that toilet flange to make the dust collection for the table saw. It works reasonably well. Okay, for this I extended the backstop on both sides. The problem is when sawdust hits this area, and it just goes everywhere. So I extend this as far as I can. It's still down below the level of the table for the bandsaw, so it won't interfere with that. We'll fire up the dust collection. You might be able to see it in here. It's hard to tell with kind of light. So you can see there's some dust is escaping, but I don't know what else to do, maybe other than 3D print something that'll not be as blunt. Okay, and there's the disc sander. I got a sanding disc on it. Not much dust escaping. This is the other end of the table. I just got a wooden plug here. Handle will be nice. Basically, it just sits in there and fits nicely, pretty much blocks the flow. So that's working, and if I ever turn the table around or if it's more convenient, I can hook the dust collection in here. Again, it's just a 4-inch coupling. I caulked around it to glue it into place, and I drove a screw down through the tabletop into that to lock it into place. Let's move around to the bandsaw. Okay, I vacuumed this out inside. I'm going to cut a 2x4 here. I'm going to zoom in as best I can. Okay. Hopefully we'll have some light. You can see the dust collection sucking it into here. So we'll see how I had this vacuumed out, see how much dust is in there. Yeah, there's dust in there, okay. So it's not collecting all of it, because this wasn't here before I started cutting. But I don't know what else I can do. It's just the way this port is set up on the machine. Live with it, I guess. Vacuum that out periodically. At least it's not, just getting out loose all over the place, so. Okay, so compound miter saw here. On the left we have the disc sander, and that extends the table nicely. But on the right, I've got a little bit of extension here, but I want some more. So I made this with an overhang here, and I have a little piece that'll hook underneath that. Slide that far enough out of the way, and then it extends it out. That ends up 4 feet away from the blade. So if I'm cutting a long piece, I don't have to balance it and hold it, and it's got a little bit of wiggle room in it, but it holds there, and I can even clamp a stop to it, till I get consistent parts, because there's not much play in and out. So Just another little piece. Okay, I think that's it. For the most part, it's working. Getting most of the dust, not all of it, but every little bit helps. One of these days I gotta put a shelf down here. Get a different air compressor, I think, is the solution. I'll just take this one to the hanger, get a small one that fits under here better, and drop the tabletop 6 inches or so. That'll be nice, 6-8 inches. I think that's it. You've seen everything in action. I hope this gave you some ideas. If nothing else, learn from my mistakes, right? And catch you on the flip side. Bye.